wide-ranging possibilities of podcasting as a pedagogical tool, I turned to a series of exercises called the Progymnasmata, which were a staple of rhetoric classrooms for millennia. The series starts with simple exercises that are meant for young students, like create or retell a popular fable, explain the meaning of a popular proverb. And then it would end with much more complex tasks meant for older students, like introducing a law or defending or refuting a philosophical thesis. And these exercises were meant to build on each other, to prepare students to speak and write in the sort of professional and political arenas that they enter in their adult lives. So I've tried to repurpose them as a series of exercises that prepare students to create a collaborative podcast series of their own, and I'm rolling this out for kind of a test run in a class called Rhetoric and Recorded Sound that I'm teaching this fall. But at present, the exercises go like this. It starts with them finding and transcribing a 5-minute segment of an untranscribed podcasting episode in order to foreground issues of accessibility for people who might be interested but have hearing impairments, and also to get them really interacting with sort of the nuances of writing for the ear. Second, recording a dialogue, either a roundtable kind of discussion or an interview with another person. Third, recording a narration of an event that they witnessed firsthand. Fourth, a review of some kind of media that involves some oral component where they have to pull in some clips from the thing they're reviewing to practice working with sort of B-roll and outside audio. Next is soundscape, where they have to use existing sound files and do some of their own field recordings to create a soundscape of a particular place. In this case, they'll have to choose a place on campus, try to create sort of a non-verbal soundscape for what that place sounds like. And then finally, ethopoeia. So this was a part of the Progymnasmata where students were expected to give a speech in the voice of a famous historical or mythological figure. But in this case, what I'll have students do is find a historical speech at which no sound recording occurs, research the rhetorical ecology where that speech was given, and try to recreate a recording that sounds as much like the original as possible. In my case, I'm probably going to assign them a speech by the famous Roman orator Demosthenes, in part because there's all these weird stories about how Demosthenes had a terrible public speaking voice, and so he would do things like practice speeches with his mouth full of pebbles, or while he was walking up steep hills, or shouting into the ocean to try to increase the loudness of his speaking voice. So in addition to some historical context, there's also some potential sort of goofy fun to be had for students kind of riffing on these weird little anecdotes. But I'm going to pretty much leave us off there. I'm happy to talk more about any of these projects, but the last thing I did want to mention really quickly is a quick nod to the CFP for a symposium I'm organizing. It's going to happen next fall, both one day here at MTSU and one day at Belmont University in Nashville. And it's going to draw together a lot of the threads I've been pulling on here, and I'd be delighted to see any and all of you there. You can find written and audio versions of that CFP. They're just right at the top of the page for my podcast, which the URL for that is right there. So that's what I've got. Thank you all for taking the time for this, and I'm happy to discuss any more of this to your heart's content.